gleich geht's los. Ich muss sagen, es ist nicht so leicht mit diesen Monobobs-Klasse-Konten, denn die sind fast genauso lang wie ein Zweierbob. Aber da fehlt eben auf der hinteren Kufe Druck. Und deswegen hat man auch so häufig dieses Dresden gesehen. Schlagzeuger Matthijs track is here. Unbelievers from Belgium.
Let's go, Alan. Let's go. Not to do it. Sorry, Mark.
Welcome back, everybody, to our coverage here from Altenberg. Problems with the connection from on-site, so unfortunately we have lost a little bit of audio as we get to the action with Christine de Bruyn. Lubov-Chernik, with a tidier second heat, has brought herself potentially a little further back up into the equation. And the Canadian slider struggling a little bit with these monobobs, as everybody is. 16th place after the first of our 4 heats. She's in the green, has a slender advantage over Lubov-Chernik. And that is going to get a little tighter. Skid onto the Kreisel. And a double tap as she comes off on the run down to the 11-12 chicane. Oh, big skids as well into 14. That pitches her sideways over the brow into 15. Here she will have not much speed across the line. 1:11.4, 2.4 kilometers an hour down. She hangs on by just 0.05 of a second. Welcome back, John Morgan. John, the second heat is no less exciting than the first, it seems.
Yeah, but a couple sleds have gone like 9/10 better, Martin. So, you know, it's they're still learning. You heard what you just said there, and you know, we're still learning how to call these sleds coming down because they're not coming down the middle of the track. We've only seen a couple sleds do that, and look at the drift here in the Kreisel, Martin. You just don't see that out of the 2- and the 4-person sleds, and you know, coming off Kreisel like that with that angle. Christina?
Do you know, it's like they're racing on ice. Genuinely, it's like cars racing on ice rather than bobsleds, which are adapted to do exactly that. So 5 down of our fastest 20. We get now to Brianna Walker of Australia. Sort of expected her to be among the front-running field. That's been the way it's been most of the season. She's had 2 wins in 4 starts this season. Well, she gets 4 runs down this track. Let's see if 2 of them can bring her back up.
400-meter hurdler, so this should be her style to run. And she had a top 5 start time in the first run, Martin, but she had some issues all the way down the track. Again, Brianna, who didn't compete in the women's bobsled race because she crashed a couple times in training and withdrew, but she's got a half-second lead. That doesn't mean anything, Martin. I mean, you saw it in the skeleton race this morning. You know, 8, 9/10 wasn't safe in the skeleton race.
True enough.
Oh, that's really late. This 2-corner combination. She's doing pretty good now. 6/10. She's increased the lead. Graveyard. And she got caught in the graveyard. And she's really skidding there through 15. Still going to be the leader.
It's hard to tell. Was it that Christine de Bruyn was much worse, or is it that Brie Walker is much better? I mean, yeah, it's not easy to judge this.
She's 2,900ths better, Martin, with but she's 400ths better at the start. But those were not clean rides down this ice canal. Wow. This is the Kreisel, and you know, a couple ups and downs, and then the exit of Kreisel, not bad, but you don't want to tap and get over to the right side of 11-12, and this is the graveyard. Come out of 13, 14 the wrong way, and this is what happens. Then look at the drift there, Martin. That's where the sled's still accelerating, so that's like putting the parachute on.
All right, so run 1, not great. Run 2, a little less dreadful. Let's see what comes up next for Kim Yoran of Korea in 14th place. And one of the tiny gaps here, she was only 800ths ahead of Brie Walker. She was only 400ths behind Katie Bile.
Her start, the 20th best start in the field. I mean, she's so far back at the start. 4,900ths to Brie Walker. So in all things being equal, she should be a second behind plus to Brie at the bottom. But as we saw what she did in Königssee when she finished 4th in the race with a deficient start time, obviously she's got some good eyes and hands and a good setup on her sled. Not bad. Best speed, Martin, with such a deficient start time. Go figure.
Well, less sideways is faster. Again, I'm saying narrow runners are the way forward here.
She's coming back. I don't know if she's going to catch her, but she was 6/10 behind at the top.
Gonna be close. 800s in front. Same speed, same time as 61.17. They both had identical times. The 800s gap from the first heat remains. If you can drive these things straight down the straights, you gain much more than you lose by having a narrower runner. And I think, you know, that's definitely got to be the way forward. Oh, look at the way that she comes off the blocks here, John.
So she doesn't rock it like everybody leans back and comes into it. So somebody's got to do something with her about her start, because she's got the 20th best start in the field. You take the start away, Martin. If you start them off exactly equal, she'd be challenging for a medal. She made up time all the way down the track. That mistake there in the graveyard.
Another wide-eyed athlete gets out at the bottom. So Katie Bile was 0.04 of a second in front of Kim Uran from the first heat. And she gets in cleaner this time.
She didn't have a very good drive down the track from the athlete who won the World Cup title this season, the first time an Austrian bobsled pilot has won, a female bobsled pilot has won that title from Austria. So, Martin, this is not the same drive lines we see her get in the two-persons fight.
But she is more in control in this upper part of the track. And having said that, she doesn't crash it off 9.
Good speed, second best speed, 4/10 advantage, but it's coming back. Remember, the Korean had a little problem in the graveyard. Let's see what she can do. She doesn't have any problem in the graveyard. She should be rewarded, and that 25 should grow.
This is looking more like a bobsled drive and less like a quarterback scramble. 60.9. That is 1.3 seconds better than she came down in the first heat, John. That's why it looks more like a bobsleigh drive.
I got her a 101.34 than a 100.90, so it's 4/400, half second better.
Oh, you're right, yes.
Anytime, 4/10, still it's a half second.
Yeah.
Her start was pretty much the same. Look at the lines. Little difference. Now the last pressure point, they go up. Looks like Katie Bile had a better line. This is where she made up, Martin. She had a 2,500ths lead at this point and got rewarded with that straight line, ended up with a 3,600ths lead at the bottom, 3,100ths lead.
Well, there's the smile back on her face. That was better. So if you're going to have a loose one, get it out of the way early and then spend 3 runs recovering. Don't let it come in right at the very end. For Nadezhda Sergeyeva of the Bobsleigh Federation of Russia, 8th fastest start. And she came down 1100ths quicker than Katie Bile. She outstarted Katie Bile by 1500ths.
26 in the first run, 21 here, much better. Heptathlete here, Martin. There's a lot of heptathletes in the field. And like in bobsledding, where there's a lot of decathletes, men's bobsled, there's a lot of decathletes in the field. So seems like the sport of choice for the crossover into this sport on ice. 3,500ths lead. That's a lot of time, Martin. But of course, there's a lot of track left. Well, 4,100ths, 8th best speed. That's relative to the bad exit off 9. She's going to lose back 6, down to 23. If she doesn't do well in the straightaway, she'll be in red numbers. 7.
She's in trouble.
Still going to be probably red numbers. Real close, 100th of a second either way. 19. Look how much time she lost, Martin.
Yeah.
She had 3,500ths above Kreisel. She gave away a half second. She does that disappearing act. I think that's out of frustration. She just probably leans back and yells. Yeah. She's so frustrated.
Well, you can see the driving style. It's quite like a single-seater race car. They're actually leaning quite far back in the sled because the cowl comes so far up the sled. Maybe we don't notice that so much in a two-seater because there's a brake athlete there as well.
Look at the back end here. Watch the back end come around. Look at that go up and down. No man's land on the ice. And, oh, look at the pressure that comes down, forces down, not out. Friction, loss of time.
How many lives do bobsleigh drivers get? Because she used one there, didn't she? Cats have 9. Not sure how many you get on this track. Melissa Lottholt's next for Canada. 7th best start, 11th at the bottom. And she has a 2300s lead over Catty Bile.
Well, one of the better starters, a 23 in the first run, 14. Everybody seems to get a better start in this heat, Martin, by a lot. She's 900s better, and she was a little loose coming down the track, as everybody else was, but maybe 2 sleds. Good exit there out of 4, a mega curve. 6/10. Gotta think that's safe, right, Martin?
Well, this is looking tidier so far. And she's clean enough out of 9.
Excellent. 3rd best speed, acceptable. Nice. 11-12. Oh, she hits the take on too early. And now the graveyard is the only thing going to prevent her from being the leader. Yeah, she'll be the leader, Martin, probably by at least 4 or 5/10.
Really nice.
This is a much better run.
Melissa Lottholt's. Yeah.
37, 100.76. Yeah, she's 3,500s better. 24, 3,500s better.
Yeah.
Much better lines.
It's tidied up, and suddenly you look like you can drive it properly again. And they've dialed themselves in, haven't they? After the first heat, they've kind of got their heads around. This is what Kaylee Humphrey said the last time. She said, you know, the one who wins is going to be the one who learns fastest.
Oh, this is out of the 11-12. Watch her hit the take-on. So that's when you hit the take-on. Look how high she gets. You see her shoulders, the cowling splits, articulation. She had a 6,500s lead, and then there she got back down to a 3,700s lead. A lot of it was lost in that crossover from 11 to 12.
Yeah, that's like she just drove it up the sidewalk there. The impact was so brutal. If the sled had tires, she'd have had a flat. So Melissa Lottholt's leads from Catty Bile and Nadezhda Segeva, the first 10 sleds down in our field of 23. Second heat of the Women's Monobob World Championships, the first ever. Top 10 after the first heat, 2 Swiss sliders, the first of whom 22-year-old Melanie Hassler.
6:29, Martin, 6:32 in the front. Another athlete that went forward. She bumped out of curve 1. She's one of the only volleyball players we have in the front seat. Had a pretty good season. Sounds. 2,500s deficit. That has a lot to do with the start. She's 1,500s back at the start. Good lines here. She can get rewarded. And that's not a good line. Neither is this. Now the graveyard. What's she do here? There. So 3,500, she might stop the bleeding with that line there in the graveyard, but she's going to fall back a number of places, at least 2, Martin.
Yeah, a 10th behind Catty Bile.
Yeah, she 20 or 1,500 slower, 1,400 slower. So most of the sleds, especially the 2 in front of her, went faster. She went slower.
And it's those early corners where there's no pressure and little speed in the sled that are really causing all the problems. 3, 4, 5. And here, the exit of 9, not much fun either.
Well, you can't go sideways like that. And here she gets over. Watch the right side of our screen. She hits the take on too early. Everybody's doing that, but not as bad as most, but wasn't perfect. This was great. This saved her from dropping a couple more spots. Yeah, she's in third. She's 900ths in front of Sergeyeva from the Bobsled Federation of Russia.
Next up from Romania, Andreea Grecu. 6:27, 9th best start. She lies 9th at the bottom after the first heat. Another former great woman.
Field, Martin.
Yeah.
And she's a 100-meter sprinter. This should favor her at the start. 6:16, that's way better. 1100's better at the start, Martin. There's some disparity in the start times from the first to the second run.
Got a lot of turn one, bumped off 3 into 4, skids into 5.
She's a sports therapist, Martin, and she might, I'm sure she's got a few bumps and bruises from training on these sleds. Pretty good, only 1200s back, 5th best speed. You know, good lines down here. She could get into the top 2. 18, lost more time back, and the speed's not there. If she's sideways in the Kreisel, she's gonna drop a lot. She's not. She's gonna drop at least 1, maybe 2. 35.
Oh,
46,
yeah.
she dropped
10th
2.
behind Catty Bile. Yikes.
Yeah, just a race speed. But, you know, Martin, it's 6:27 in the first run, 6:16 in the second run at the start. And here at the bottom, she went 900 slower. She should have been way faster in the second run, so she did not have a good drive down the Icebahn. And here's up top. Well, the speeds are slow, and she's skidding into 4. Look at the back end. She got to steer and adjust, so she takes 3 waves. Then this is up before curve 9. Gets a little high there on the exit of 9. Look at the rudder tip. She steered hard to get off, and it's easy to do commentary when they're skidding like this, Martin. I mean, it's very easy to show.
Yeah, even we can see it.
I mean, we go to Innsbruck, we have
fixes. Well, even in Innsbruck, these sleds are pretty spectacular. Miesha Mcneil next for Great Britain, 17th starter, but came down in 8th place.
Yeah, she had one of the better drives down the track, and did we talk about she was leading this on this track a couple years ago in a World Cup?
Yeah.
Second run fell to 4th, so she could drive. And with that start deficiency, she needs to drive to get in the top 10.
And
so
that's the problem with a sled
back.
that's so hard to be consistent in, is she needs consistency. Good exit off 9.
She's 1900s, 3rd best speed. Martin, this is what she did the first run. She can overcome that 2/10 deficiency with good lines here. Was she hitting a crossover? No. One of the smoothest lines we've seen so far. Now into the graveyard. Excellent, she's bringing it back. She's only 1000ths back, Martin. She could get it to single digits. She could get close.
Like Cynthia Appiah, like Catty Bile, she made it look like a real sled, a 2-seater sled. 61
now
at
she's
0.8.
noticing they're getting slower. She's 20 slower than her first run. Melissa went faster in the second run. Of course, start time, yeah, she's a little bit better, but not as good a drive down the track as she had in the first heat.
And I think that's the key, isn't it?
early. Yeah, she's in early at the start, Martin. And she's not smooth getting in.
It's a long start, John, but it does drop away. So if you're not adding speed, get in the sled.
Yeah, well, then here's the graveyard. Little articulation was, bent, so she came off there pretty hard.
Well, Miesha Mcneil slips 1 spot. Melissa Lotholtz leads with the fastest 7 sleds to go. Next up is Martina Fontenot, the second of our Swiss athletes in the top 10. 12th best start and a 6:31 for her, but she came down just over half a second off the lead.
Yeah, she's got a couple medals in Monobob this year, a couple of the races. Martin, 6:26. Respectable start in a 500s better than her first heat. Looks like everybody's got more confidence to run a couple more steps and get a better time at the start. She had a very good drive down the track, Martin. Let's see, she's going to need it again to overhaul Melissa Loholtz at the bottom, who's been in there for 3 or 4 sleds. She's an interior architect by trade. From Zurich, 2/10 lead, but 5th best speed. Need the good lines down here to catch Loholtz. Ooh, that's trouble. That's going to take away, it's going to be 10/100s probably at the next clock. 20. That was pretty good for that mistake she made, Martin. She should have been farther back, but this is going to be the leader.
Got better speed than Melissa Loholtz.
Yeah.
Holds on by a 1/4 of a second, but a 61.08, that's exactly the same time that Miesha Mcneil just set. So she maintains her advantage of 3400s over Mcneil.
Martin, way slower, 5,300 slower. I think the track's slowing down too. The people who were went early had fresher ice. Track's slowing down too, because this didn't look like a 1/2 second slower run. Wasn't a perfect Omega. 9, runner tips. I'm gonna hit again. But now that second hit gave her that skid. And this is the crossover. Could she hit the takeout? Yeah, she's wrong on the takeout at 12 there. That causes havoc.
That's more normal.
Yeah. Consistency is
Still
the
having
toughest
fun.
thing in these sleds. That and grip. Martina Fontenot leads, fastest 6 sleds from the first heat. Next up with Cynthia Appiah, the fastest starter. She holds the new start record at 6:01. It is the warmest part of the day, least cold, let's say. This should be a quicker start and a new record for Cynthia. There we go, only
6
by
flat,
100,
there it
but
is.
it's a 6.
Hey, it's good enough. So Martin, she's from Toronto, and her job is she's a customer service rep for the Blue Jays baseball team. And they won't be playing in Canada this year. They're going to be playing down in Buffalo, but I wonder what that'll do to her job. Cynthia's done very well coming out first year in the World Cup driving and these sleds. And when you're an athlete like she is, with no start times, you got a chance. Huge lead there, but the 10th best speed, Martin. Crossover 11 to 12. Not great. She could be the leader if she stays straight here. She's going to be the leader, Martin, even without that banging.
Yeah, holds the momentum well and across the line, 3,100s up, 60.79.
Only 2,600 slower. Remember, Fontenay went 5,400 slower. So that's pretty good. Stays close to her first run downtime and could move her up. She's not that far out. Next sleds. She's only 700s off at Jamaica.
4 decent runs and you're in there for the medals. 3 decent runs might not be enough.
All the top 6 people we see in the top of the leaderboard, Martin, are all very experienced World Cup successful pilots. This athlete here is not.
Yeah.
She's new. And to me, she's the most impressive person on the ice with the least amount of experience. And with that start time, I'm saying we're going to see her representing Canada next year in both events. With that start time, she's just learning. It's her first year.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we now get into our phalanx of yellow liveried sleds with Mariama Yamanka, the Olympic champion, the former world champion. 700's her advantage over Cynthia Appiah from the first heat. Yamanka having her first decent drive.
Look at that start. She did that rock backwards to forward. 29 start, 28, so she does go 100. A lot of people are going 500-800s better. And Martin, your comment in the first run, that was one of the best drives we've seen her have in women's monobob, because she's finishing 11th, 14th, 9th. She hasn't finished better than 8th all year in this little competition. 2,300's deficiency, that's relative to the start time deficiency. Wow, second best speed though. She could get into that. Yeah, Martin, she's gonna take the lead, but oh, she tried to make a mess of things there. Yes, that good driving here. Well, looks like she's starting to settle into Monobob, Martin. We've heard all the press that she doesn't like these little sleds. But we were saying she's gonna have to need to adjust to them. She just did there. Only 900 slower. The last 6, 7 sleds have been going 3/10, 4/10 slower. She's only a 10th slower, so Yamanka, I think, is putting herself into the position where she could challenge for a medal.
What elderly boxes of runners have been plundered to find something narrow enough to give her control.
Look at her technique in the sled, both feet forward, both the arms will come up together. So she's been well schooled and trained, as you would expect from a German. And the exit here, this is the Kreisel. Little drift into 11-12. Now watch her hit the take on too early. Bang, she bounced. Look how high she gets up there in the sled. And the articulation split. That's her only mistake, was that 11-12 combination.
2 runs, 1100ths apart. That's pretty decent consistency for the early days of monobob racing. A 2-time race winner in 2 starts in these sleds ever, Kaylee Humphries. Let's see what our former Olympic champion can produce. 6:21 start in the first heat.
Should be better than that. 24, 300 slower. One of the few, if the only, to go slower in the second run than the first. She had green numbers down in the Kreisel, Martin, but lost it on the bottom. Put herself in 4th place, but certainly good enough to keep her in medal contention in the first run. Now it's her and Yamanka. Humphries, last week's world champion for the 2nd year in a row. That's what she did in the first run, Martin. But didn't have that same type of drive down the track as she's had the previous times we've seen her. Graveyard, pretty good, she's pulling away. This could be a statement run for Kaylee Humphries.
Whoa, first sled to go quicker in the second heat.
2200ths better. I'm saying now that's a statement run right there. You know, this is what you expect. This was the favorite going into the competition, although Nolta and Kalicki had great training times. Other than the mistake here at 9, Martin. Late. Skid, now watch, as she steered away, does she check the runners? Look at the way she did not even let the runners, they just stayed straight. Hit the wall, take my medicine, sled came straight. Now watch her chase down Yamanka here. This is, you know, actual time. Yeah, they're pretty equal. There at the end, Kaylee starts to creep up a little bit on her.
And she uses that late high exit in the Kreisel. That gives you a big drive down into 11 and 12. So Kaylee Humphries puts down a big run. Fastest 3 in the first heat to go, and they weren't separated by a whole heck of a lot. 2400ths off the lead, Kim Kalicki. And as you could see, only 1500ths ahead of Humphries.
She could drop some time at the start. 29, so she get 27 or 28. She only dropped 4 or 500ths to Kaylee. 23. Wow, 600ths better at the start. She beat Kaylee to start by 100. Now it's, you know, her destiny is in her hands. It's easy to say where you and I are sitting, but 1100ths. That's pretty much what she had. This goes out to 15, 18. She will catch kick. She will be the leader. Ooh, but she doesn't. Martin, look at that. Red numbers there. Kaylee was pretty good, 7th best speed. Kaylee was up there in the top 2 or 3. Crossover, not perfect, but Kaylee Humphries made a statement run right there, Martin. And a serious statement run. Kalicki's gonna fall 4/10 behind Kaylee Humphries.
But still ahead of her teammate. No, she's behind Yamanka. She drops behind Yamanka as well. So she's third with
It's
the
a
top
4
two
heat
still
race.
to come. Yeah.
Martin, it's a 4 heat race, and there's no lets, there's no throw it out. And that was not a great run. It was the 5th run of the day so far. Expected, she had great training times, Martin. Here, okay, she's late. So remember, Humphries came over, hit the wall, and didn't try and steer away. Look at the runners. She's not trying to steer away either, but she's got way more of a skid going, a triple skid there, Martin, and there's no points for that. Just loss of time. This is the exit of Kreisel. And into 11-12. What she, not her best.
Second half the first heat, long-time leader. The first sled out of the start gate was Stephanie Schneider. She has a 32 hundredths of a second advantage over Kaylee Humphries. She was only 7 hundredths behind her teammate Lara Nolter, who is the first heat leader.
This lady here has got a lot of medals on the track as a brakeman, as a driver, former world champion. She was the first one out, Martin. And the rap on her is even in the World Cup, the two-person sled, she's inconsistent. Well, she puts down a run like she had in the first heat. She will definitely be the leader, and she's got a huge lead now on Kaylee Humphries. And that's good lines. Best speed, too, into the Kreisel. 2400 should grow. Skid. Losing time. Skid. Big one. Graveyard. Not 14. This is going right to the 100th of a second, Martin. Either way. 400ths. It's okay. Kaylee Humphries closed the gap on her. She was 32 hundredths behind. Now she's only 400ths behind. Humphries still has the fastest time of the run. Schneider with the second fastest time of the run. So I would say Schneider's 2 for 2. She's had 2 good runs and positions herself for tomorrow.
Yeah, but she gave away 0.3 of a second to Kaylee.
Yep, and better start too. She beat Kaylee up by 7 hundredths on the start. Here in the graveyard, look at her tilt to the left. You know, for a lady who's not consistent, those were 2 pretty good runs.
Bronze medalist last week, Lara Nolter leads after the first of 4 heats in the Women's Monobob World Championships. Her lead over teammate Stephanie Schneider was just 7 hundredths, 39 hundredths over Kaylee Humphries. She cannot afford to give away 0.3 here the way that Schneider just has.
6:15 in the first run. She gets to 6:10 or 6:11. She's going to have a huge advantage here. 6:18. She went 300 slower. She's only 600 better than Kaylee at the start. So this number should grow unless she makes a mistake, and she does. Huge mistake. That is definitely going to cost her. That wasn't very good either. This is more hits than Elvis, Martin. Look at the time. It's already in the red. She's going to have a chance to fall 3 or 4 spots if she doesn't straighten things out here. Martin, she's going to fall maybe 5 spots. Looks like she's got it on line now, Martin, but this isn't where you want to make it. You want to make it up top. Hold on, this is perfect now. So she's corrected herself, Martin, but she's going to drop at least 2 spots. Wow, 18, she came back in the bottom, 1:00.70. She went 0.7 slower in that run.
Yep.
It's about 4 heats.
Well, it all went wrong when the sled drifted right out of turn 1 and caught a big lump of ice that sticks out of the wall. Yep. And from there on, that's where the first problem came.
0.7 slower. No one's gone 0.7 slower, Martin. Unbelievable. Now, we've had 20 sleds down. We have a few more sleds yet to go. And we still don't have confirmation if Alana Myers-Taylor is going to be going.
Well, we'll find out in 2 minutes from now. There is Lara Nolter.
I know.
Comme ci, comme ça. Third overnight behind Kaylee Humphries and Stephanie Schneider. And this is really a leaderboard that will be in flux. There is so much time you can give away and very little you can win back. Mistakes are going to be what defines this race rather than perfect drives. First 20 sleds down, 3 still to come that were outside the top 20 after the first of our 4 heats. Sylwia Smolarek of Poland is first up, 23rd at the start, 21st at the bottom.
It's a little bit quicker in her second run at the start. And young Polish athlete. Smallest athlete in the field, Martin. Nose down. Ooh, you don't want to hit that take on the 4-5 and do that. It's, you know, we say in the 2-person and the 4-person sleds, it's not the driver who drives the most that wins, it's the driver who drives the least. Look at the runners there. That, she was trying to check. You know, that works maybe in the 2-person sleds, but doesn't do so well in the mono sleds. But Martin, she's getting to the bottom.
Yep. So far on the runners, didn't have too much of a disaster out of 9 or in the chicane 11 and 12. Across the line, first heat was a 62.60 and that is a 63.12. And all of that sliding sideways, and there was so much sideways from corner 1 down to corner 5, much more than in the first heat.
She had a much better run in the first heat, Martin, than there. There's her brake person from the 2-person combination, helping her out. And boy, the sliding here, Martin. Look at the nose, back end, some Tokyo drift, your reference. And then take on, she hits the take on to curve 5. Then watch her bang over here. This is all up top, Martin. I mean, so you can't get the sled. Now watch this. Watch the runner tips. You check the runners in a 2-man, but you don't check it when you're hitting the wall. You check it before you get to the wall. She'll learn.
Yeah.
She just cares about
so
getting
much
down.
Of a skid.
Great to see.
So here is Alana Myers-Taylor. Well, she rolled out of 9 in the first heat. The sled righted itself 100 meters later going into the Kreisel. She completed the run. She is going again. Well, whether she races tomorrow or not remains to be seen. But right now, she is not going to let this sled and this track defeat her.
6:03 in the first run, one of the best starts. 6 flat start record. She ties it. Do you think this is a driven athlete? Gave birth less than a year ago and crashes in the first run, and she's out here again, and she was online to have the best time, Martin, before she crashed down there on curve 9, which is, this is where she made the mistake, coming up, right here, curve 9. A little different exit of the curve that time. She's way back, but she can move up 7-8 spots, Martin, with any kind of bottom here. Ooh, I don't like this line. Ooh, she gets away with it. Late here in 13.
Still doesn't have the control of her teammate, Kaylee.
But she's got to slide herself into the top 20, Martin. The top 20 sleds at the end of 3 runs. Go.
Yep.
And she gets the 9th best time of the run. 19th overall. So, hey, I think you could just define this athlete here as pretty headstrong. Pretty. I'm not going to let the mountain get me. She's won on this track before, Martin. And here, much better curve 9. If she would have had that in curve 9 in the first run, she'd be up in the top 5 or 6.
Yep.
And this skid into Kreisel. Look at the difference in lines. That's Schneider. Again, driving the exact same sleds. Different runners.
Alana holding on to it there.
Here, you know,
didn't dare let it rise.
11 to 12. Yeah, 11 to 12. Half the field does that. But hey, Alana, great second run.
Well, our 23rd athlete is Lydia Junck from Ukraine. Again, very limited experience of driving bobsleds. She ran 4 races in the old sleds. She's also had her first Europa Cup races in December 2020, so not much racing experience in any kind of bobsled.
Oh, but Martin, she's an example. Here's Ukraine. They don't really have a bobsled team. We used to, I think 2010 to 14, we saw a little bit of Ukraine bobsledding. But here's a small nation with an opportunity. They need a sled, one person, and they're in the field. You know, usually when you start a team, you got to have a couple brakemen, driver. It's a little different expense. So this is an example of a small nation able to get into the sport here with these monobobs.
Oh, big hit.
Airborne.
Yeah.
Ukraine does have a men's scholar program.
All about experience right now for Lydia Junck and for the Ukrainian coaches, because they're learning about the sled as the same rate that she is. 62.84, down and done. And that completes
she didn't
our
have the worst time, Martin. In fact,
heats.
She went 42/100ths better that heat, Martin. So there's a victory in her. She's racing the track. She's not racing the rest of the field. She's racing against this treacherous track, and she just wants to complete 4 runs.
Mikhail Haraskevich down there. Vladislav Haraskevich's dad, who's helping with the coaching, and where there's no pressure, John, any steer you make as a young driver, you're oversteering the sled.
Watch this, airborne here. Look at this. The sled totally airborne. Wow.
Boy.
Oh, that's a picture.
I tell you what, you want some dramatic photos, go and look on the IBSF Facebook site with some of the pictures from training. There are sleds there, free of the ice, upside down. It's scary stuff. Well, what a change around in some ways and not so much in others. Stephanie Schneider led most of the first heat. She is our overnight leader. But Kaylee Humphries is just 400ths behind her. In any bobsleigh race, that is not any kind of wriggle room. We have as near a dead heat as you want overnight. Lara Nolter slipped back to 3rd position. There's Schneider, your leader. Mariama Yamanka 4th. She dropped away nearly half a second back, and Kim Kalicki in 5th. Cynthia Appiah into the top 6 ahead of Martina Fontenot and her teammate Melissa Lotholtz, with Miesha Mcneil and Katy Bile rounding out the top 10. But it's tight because Andrea Grecu and Melanie Hassler, 100th apart, are not far away from 10th place. And with the time that you can lose by making mistakes and having big skids, we could see an awful lot more changes. After a first heat crash, Alana Taylor drives herself into the race overnight from 22nd to 19th place with the 9th best run. She should gain more ground tomorrow. Well, that's it for the Monobob for day 1. Day 2 continues on Sunday, but we have 4-man bobsleigh still on today's agenda. For the moment, though, from John Morgan and me, Martin Haven, with the IBSF TV crew, thank you for joining us. We'll be back with more as we get our 4-man competition underway this afternoon.